Hello everyone, welcome back. We are getting ready for our fourth game of the LCS Proving Grounds between Cloud9 Academy and NoOrg, presented by Verizon Wireless. I'm excited to see if NoOrg are going to be able to bounce back after 2 losses in a row, or if Cloud9 Academy will be able to clinch themselves into the grand finals.
Well, they have side selection, which should give them the option of now adjusting their draft a little bit further. They opted into the Udyr over the Hecarim this time around. It's a pick that they have been favored throughout most of the tournament, but for this series in particular, and like so many best of series, each one has its own unique meta. And the one trend so far, Hecarim 100% win rate. So I think that that will be what they should go for this time around. And if I'm on Cloud9, I might just be thinking about banning it right now, throwing a curveball right there, making sure that they don't get it, which they will surely have their eyes out on, because for any coach looking at these games, you just got to know what has been winning you games, what has been a problem, and Hecarim has twice been a huge deal. One of them, Schönfart, just got 3 kills in the first 5 minutes of the game, and then the other, well, he got a Trinity Force instead of the regular Chem Tank, so he has been having a grand old time on this pick.
That he has, so we'll see if NoOrg decide to grab it themselves right away, or maybe just get rid of it. Not even want to bother with it at all. Because right now we're seeing that Lucian, that Copy will never be able to get his hands on to. Tristana taken away from King, but Seraphine by Cloud9 Academy, not wanting 5-Fire to be able to play that in the mid lane.
Still targeting the Nidalee as well. It's been Anda's preferred AP jungler to pair up with the Renekton. So Renekton with Udyr, a decent combination, but the Renekton with Nidalee, incredibly powerful. Still, you can flex it into the mid lane and also be a complete menace. And it is going to be the Hecarim ban, but from the NoOrg side, they now want to clinch something, but they will not have the option of Udyr. I think the jungle should still be a priority here. Anda's champion pool is quite deep, but I think Lilia suddenly really rises up here because she now has favorable matchups to most of the other picks. Oh!
Okay,
huge
so
curve.
I'm going to actually justify this. What did they opt not to ban instead of banning Hecarim? They didn't ban Orianna. Grabbing the Twisted Fate, knowing Copy likes to go back on the Orianna, they're saying it doesn't matter to the jungle at the moment. We'll grab it next time around once we know a little bit more about your comp.
I think they want Nocturne for the jungle here.
I think so.
Lilia TF, not that great, but Nocturne TF gives you a lot of synergy, and if you bait the Orianna out, you actually have a lot of side lane pressure to be able to jump onto these members that don't have mobility spells, and you can start splitting up the map. They have played multiple games where they have better side lane pressure, whether it's in 1v1s or even in 2v2s in the beginning of the game. So if they're taking this pick early on and the jungle has been pinched, I think that this is the direction that they want to go, because at the very least, if they don't go with another global, they're gonna want some side lane pressure. And so Cloud9 immediately responds and saying, great, you want to play side lanes? We're going to pick a champion that is pretty much impervious to a lot of these dives. You kill me, I still farm the wave. I get really beefy against your physical damage threats, and I'll be able to hold on to whatever you throw my way. So I like this response, as Cloud9 is already saying, we are sticking to team fights, and you are going to go your split pushing ways.
Senna getting locked in with that Tahm Kench bot lane, the fasting Senna build that we often see, but such a safe bot lane for them to be able to rely on, not really having to worry about the poke that can come in from a Karma.
Yeah, well, the Karma could be paired with an Ezreal here, and now you have a really annoying lane to deal with for the Senna and Tahm Kench. There's a lot of damage, a lot of distance generated between these two, making it a lot harder for you to land those tongue lashes, to land the W from the center route and actually engage onto them. So I think that Cloud9 can end up with a lot of lanes that offer significant priority and make it very difficult for the Twisted Fate to gank. Orianna is now the one target, but the Karma, as long as she saves her Mantra shield, when Twisted Fate ports on you, unless you're getting surrounded by multiple angles, you should be able to get away.
But I do want to see that Ezreal banned away. There it is. Banned from King. That is one of his favorite champions to play. Doesn't matter what meta. He usually likes to go back onto that a lot. So taking that out of his hands takes away a lot of that poke lane that you were talking about that could harass the Senna Tahm Kench lane. There's still options. I'm not saying there's no options still left available. Kais is something that we also often see just in this current meta that can farm up decently well and not necessarily having to worry too much. But we'll see what they opt to get when Nocturne is taken away from them.
Yeah, and Nocturne is banned out, but you still have 3 globals on the side of NoOrg. There's a lot of power, and these globals tools are often hindered by the lack of creativity that teams pick and that they exhibit. So No Org needs to be very creative and proactive with using these abilities, especially as they gain range across they gain levels, because the Tom Kench ultimate in particular can reposition you multiple members at the same time and surprise the opponent. I want to see what they do with this, because I still think they can be really intelligent with the next two picks here and give us some powerful jungle picks, but more importantly, some good synergies with the top lane that can then transition into a full team fighting phase, because split pushing phase, as Cloud9 is going with the full team fighting. Their team fighting is not even close already. There's nothing No Org could draft to beat the 5v5 that Cloud9 already has. They have to commit to split pushing or just playing side lanes, then collapsing on members that are caught by themselves.
Pick tools, anything to really be able to back up this Twisted Fate, even the Senna route that you were talking about. Setting up the side lanes later on, especially going into a Scion. Oh, we get the Riven! We get Viper's Riven. This is match point for No Org, and they've locked in his favorite.
Wow. I mean, we wanted split pushing power. We wanted side lane pressure. We were talking about confidence for Viper. He only played the Riven when his confidence was at an all-time high. Here it is again. No, of course not.
They need a jungler.
Yeah.
They need a jungler.
All right.
I was about to
say, what's going on? No.
The Lilia works perfectly what they need for this composition, but my eyes are still on that Riven.
It'll be a good matchup into the Scion. You can dodge out of most of his abilities. You can cancel his stun. So obviously practiced on it, but it's still a Scion that you have to deal with in the side lanes. And from how Viper plays Riven in the LCS, from the time where he played it against some of the best laners that North America has to offer, the way he would play would be quite farm-centric in the laning phase. Very passive, very calm. But then when it came to team fights, when it came to finding a flank, he'd just absolutely pop off. Mechanically, it was on another level. So I think that's what we can expect from him. I think the early laning phase will be just farming, getting that ability haste, making sure your abilities are on as low cooldown as possible. And then when you get to team fight, you immediately surprise the carries, you pop them right away, and then you deal with the tanks later.
And for this, you know, I'm really excited about Viper playing Riven, but I'm also looking at Anda playing this Lilia with 5-Fire on Twisted Fate. I kind of mentioned the pick potential tools that No Org have drafted for themselves, and I honestly like it even more when I look at this going up against Surenfire on Mundo. While Mundo, yeah, you can argue is a tank, he's still susceptible early game. He doesn't necessarily have the healthiest of clears in the early levels.
No, he doesn't, and he also gets quite low, and Riven's ultimate is an execute. Mundo is that ideal against Riven. The Riven can actually be very powerful here as well, but we have to get to a stage where the atomization for No Org is there to match, and these games have been much faster than to allow for any late game champions that rely on these tools to actually get to that point where they can just start bursting multiple tanks. We barely got to see armor penetration items from the carries who are so fed, let alone on a bruiser. So yes, the Mundo can be really tanky and can be dealt with by the Riven, but I think this game will be decided much earlier on than that.
As do I. This is pretty much just going to be a snowball comp versus a comp that needs to hold the line. They need to make sure they're not bleeding out too much early game. And we saw what happened with Cloud9 Academy earlier when they drafted a composition that needed to hold the line. Now, with match point up for grabs, with them being able to get themselves into grand finals, they've gotten themselves a composition that needs to make sure it survives long enough to be able to get that win.
And just like Game 1, Magical, they've given themselves the responsibility to play make. Twisted Fate, Riven, you are putting so much emphasis on the solo lanes to find something on the map, to be proactive in the early game, to not go into any 5v5s at all, to find individual members caught out, to generate goal leads through your own vision. And I love to see that when you got your backs against the wall. It's confidence in yourself, in your ability to actually carry on a winning strategy. And even if it doesn't work out, it's the fact that you are putting faith in your players that is always commendable in my eyes.
Same here. I love this. We were talking earlier. I love seeing teams that are willing, even if it means that they don't win this game, but they're willing to take the risk to try to see if they can contend against the team, the organization that has had the best record in Academy that we've seen since its inception. They don't care. They don't care of the historic history that Cloud9 Academy have. They are here to make history themselves.
And it starts with pathing to the top side once again, and making sure that he can help out Riven. And look at what Darshan even thought of, right? Warding the try brush for himself. Doesn't want to get cheesed. Doesn't want to get hit by Viper there and start losing the lane, because he's all about getting that early itemization, that early cooldown reduction. Not going for any Doran's item. It's classic for Riven. Just potion and longsword to make sure that you can get that Caulfield's Warhammer as quickly as possible, because the sooner you can start spamming those abilities, the sooner you can start harassing the lane, you can start moving and avoiding ganks and being much more aggressive, which is a key. It's a signature of Riven, being able to be simultaneously aggressive but also have your abilities on such a low cooldown that you can use them to evade any possible gank.
The thing that's surprising, though, is that Surenfire started topside. With this pushing the bot lane from Jinx and Karma into the Senna, Tom, Kench lane that pretty much just wants to sit under turret and not really do much for a while anyways, means that Surenfire will head to the bot lane with relatively nothing really to be able to accomplish. Kind of looking to be able to get Scuttle Crab, and then what? What can you do to make sure that Anda is not going to be able to set up that potential to be able to invade you?
He won't be able to get a dive, but he'll be able at the very least to protect these guys and allow them to be very annoying for big and value. So that'll be all for Surenfire's part of his jungle clear, but...
High fire.
Okay.
Okay, he's not flashing yet. Holding on to that, waiting it out. There we go, he's fine.
If that W had hit from Copy, I think it was a little bit off sync with his command attack. It might have forced a flash out of Fire, but now it'll only get a teleport. But still, Anda gets his top scuttle, so it's not like it affects the jungle matchup at all.
No, but the thing is, Copy having gone for Cleanse to be able to get away from this Twisted Fate matchup means that he is not going to be able to have that same back that he can utilize to punish Fire with a bit extra gold in his pockets. He's got to take the long way to walk all the way back to mid lane, which means no back at all. Copy has to stay there without any mana.
True. Even though he actually lost that trade, the teleport will keep him in a fairly positive position in this lane. This is a cannon minion that he'll be able to just quickly farm out, and it's not like he lost a whole lot. The cleanse will be just to keep him alive from both Lilia and TF. It's going to be really valuable in that regard, because now it gives one less tool for Fire to actually punish. We saw that one initially. Okay, the Orianna versus Twisted Fate can be a good matchup if you can gank your own lane, but without that TP, with that cleanse,
there you go.
You just don't go for her.
Right. It's also going to be hard to find out which target you want to make sure that you're cleansing, right? Look at how much on the side of Nowhere can lock down someone like an Orianna. Yep, 2 cleanses, King and Copy, both having that. King needing that as Jinx to be able to stay alive long enough in the fight to get that damage out, but Copy also having to fall back to that because there's so much lockdown potential out of No Orb means that they have a difficult route that they're going to now face. You can see that Copy had to use that cleanse immediately to be able to get away from that gold card.
Yeah, exactly as we were talking about it. This is what it allows him. At least it'll buy some time for that Lilia to show up again. And if he can just ward up a few sides of his own lane, then by the time the cleanse is back up, he'll have an understanding of where Lilia can come from, and then it'll be a lot easier to continue to stay alive in this lane, just farming up, as you can just allow your team to scale because you're guaranteed to win the 5v5s. You're just not going to lose those unless you're misplaying tremendously. So Cloud9, happy to play things slow, not looking for any fights unlike last game. They know that they have match point here, and as long as they play things calm and collected, they will be in a favorable position, especially stacking these dragons early on, which will only be a bigger signal for No Org that they need to be taking these fights in. That's exactly where Cloud9 wants them. They want them to want to fight them.
Ooh, 6 for 6. Darshan getting a lot of damage onto Viper, forced to use the stun to try to be able to get away from this. Both of them have flash. There's a Conqueror that could be used, but it's not going to be necessary. Viper will be able to escape.
Yeah, just a nice little trade there. Anytime he can get the Riven to base, I think he'll be happy to take that trade, since it'll just free up Darshan to farm up and get a little bit tankier, as it just won't be the place where you want to gank. Viper's sole job here is just to farm and farm as effectively as possible. Has a tiny few CS ahead, but as long as Darshan can keep up, his job will just be to play these fights well, and with his toolkit that Sion offers, he can not only be a great engage, but a really difficult target to get through on the side of a Riven. The peel that a Sion can offer against this carry is tremendous, and when you add the Karma shield and the Orianna shield on top of it, plus the tether, it is really tricky for how Viper will have to play these fights out.
Now that we're getting the level 6s completed across the board for No Org. And Fire, where do you make your first play? You already got that cleanse off of copy, but soon, if you don't make a play there, it'll be back up and you're not going to be able to touch him.
And as long as he keeps the lane in this position, it'll be even harder to find him, even if his cleanse were to be down. So there's a TP coming out, though.
This is what I wanted to see. Looking for the play. They have the 6 and they're going to be able to get the class and cleanse, but there it is, first blood for Viper.
That is huge. Gold going over to the Riven. She had teleport, didn't use it to get back to the top lane. In fact, saved it for this play to the bottom lane. So while Darshan gets to crash the wave, you kill the carry, you get gold onto the Riven, and you're not going to miss out on a whole lot of CS. This is a lane swap coming. I think they're preparing for the Herald, but Firefire's in trouble.
Fire has flash for flash, but Copy takes him down.
Great outplay there out of him. Instead of going for the attack, flashes in for the command attack at the very end, anticipating Fire to do the same, and it's starting to look like this Twisted Fate is having a really hard time getting value on the map. Yes, you might be able to attack King now, as he doesn't have flash or cleanse available, but if Orianna can keep you shoved into the turret and is already showing kill pressure and acting on it, this Twisted Fate is not going to get the ultimates that he needs to really start accelerating the pace of the game.
And right now we have a lane swap. Viper bot lane against King and Isles. He's in the They don't know. They don't know, chat. They don't know. He's going to try to see if he can get on top of King. Does not have the ult, though, but here comes the gate and Destiny opened up. They got the gold card on King, but unfortunately, because Fire's there, they have to back off of the fight.
They didn't have enough damage to go for this. Viper hasn't based yet. So he stayed in that fight. He didn't get to shop and get a little bit more on his itemization. So there's no point trying to flash in onto King there. Even though the shield got used between the Tether and Mundo, at best, you're trading a 1-for-1. So he doesn't go for it. And more importantly, it's a really good move out of Cloud9 to have kept their bottom lane here. The fact that Fire was right there gave no window for Fire and Viper to make that play happen. And while you do lose the Rift Herald, you're still trading a turret for it. It's not like you lost anything that you didn't get already on this side of the map.
It's going to be a total of 4 plates picked up by King. This Jinx getting a massive influx of gold. Might even be able to get the full turret if they're not careful enough on the side of No Org. They will be able to route them, not giving up the full turret, but that's so much gold now put into the pockets of this hyper carry.
Okay, this could be trouble for Fire.
This looks familiar. I feel like we've seen this play before, but this time around we have Anda on the other side. It's going to be a cleanse, but unfortunately not today, Copy.
Ooh, right there was Anda not going to let his mid laner die without being able to support him, flashing in, and that's huge though because you got the cleanse. You can now strike the Orianna once again, and it's the junglers being on cross sides of the map, but the laners not necessarily respecting where the enemy junglers could be, and it's worked out for both teams twice. It's just that now it actually got a kill for No Org, whereas in the last time, it just stopped them from getting a kill.
Despite having the kill lead for No Org, they are down just a little bit in gold because of all the minions that have been accrued by Cloud9 Academy. You see top lane even having a bit of a lead over Viper, despite the fact this Riven was able to get that first blood kill to try to get the snowball rolling.
Well, the Riven's kill can still be really relevant in this game because he's only going to be playing against the champions that he can kill. We've seen him try to go after King twice and with help every single time. He's not overextending trying to go for any 1v1s. He's just looking for fights that are entirely certain. And as long as they go for those, I think they'll be able to continue to funnel gold onto her. It looks like he's going for He's got the Kindle Gem and the Gore Drinker at the moment, so the fight around Dragon is about to happen. I think they're going to be looking for the carries, Magical. They don't have Flash, while Viper does.
Viper's here, not even going to try to see if they can wait it out long enough for Darshan to be able to TP. They want to make sure this Riven is in position to find the fight and is blind right there with the help of that control ward. Dragon secured by No Org, one apiece. That now Viper here in the mid lane, pretty much going to try to see if they can turn a play somewhere else.
They were thinking about flashing onto Copy there.
No flash, no cleanse. That would have been the option.
Okay.
I know they want no flash, no cleanse. That's the target to go for. But Copy was smart. Copy not walking anywhere close to them.
He's playing just on the edge, just making it a little bit too far for them to actually go for him. Because you got to remember, he can always just QWE and you pop the face rush and immediately walk away. So he knows his edge quite well, and he's looking for another 1v1.
I feel like we see this play over and over and over again. There's going to be the heal that was given by the Unsealed Spellbook, but the ult will be able to not help out at all.
Ooh, he is crushing this lane now. He's only lost the 1v1 when the Lily ganked. And here comes a TP onto the bot lane.
Look at this. Value and Big are way overextended right now. When's the train going to leave the station? They're not even going to bother. They're just going to run and get the flash out of Value, leaving Big out to dry. That's the train now getting the lockdown with the flash away. Isles over the wall, trying to get the tether on top of Tom Kench, but he's a big boy. Got a big old shield, too, to try to see if he can survive a little bit longer, but he just can't. King takes him down with the help of the chains, and now they've got the root on of Value for 2 kills.
Oh, they get so much, and this TP won't get anything. It's only 5-fire. Viper doesn't have his own.
Uh-oh.
He might get
5-fire. He is going in blind, flashing over the wall to survive.
And he has to walk back to the top lane or stay to hold this tier 2. It is a big loss for No Oregon. Multiple plays going in the favor of Cloud9. Starts with the solo kill. They recognize there's no TF. We can go make plays on the bottom side of the map without being answered. They use the TP advantage quite well, and yes, you lose some gold up here, but you got so much for your carries. The Orianna and the Jinx are so happy now. You burn the flashes out of Value and Big, and now you can strike that lane once again.
It's the hyper carry. They've gotten it onto King this time around much earlier than in Game 3 to make sure this Jinx is going to tear through anybody on No or Copy. Looks like he's in a bad flash coming in. Not even going to get the shockwave to help out at all, but it will be a trade with the help of the turret.
That is worth it. That is huge for a Copy. You burn a big cooldown out of flash, and the wave is entirely caught from King. He's already rotated up here. They're not going to go for 5-fire, but they're already reacting, and they're now finding the avenues for ganking individual members of Cloud9 when they're by themselves, but it feels like it might be too late. With the tier 1 burned into the bottom lane, Cloud9 is starting to remain way too grouped for you to find anybody by themselves. They had to dive that. They had to really overextend to get that kill, and a 1-for-1 trade is not ideal here. Let's take a look at the initial gank in the bottom lane, because they patiently wait for who to commit to, and once the flashes go, that's when they start to commit and flash forward. When Senna stays around thinking that she could save the Tom Kench is when her demise began. She had to run right away there, since Darshan still had his flash to follow up.
Exactly. You bail out of that fight. You leave the catfish to get noodled. You don't even want to bother with it. There's no point in that one, unfortunately. Then the play top lane didn't go the way they needed to for Viper. Since he died, it was only a 1-for-1 trade. Well, yes, you're getting more gold into this Riven. You're also making it so that the side of Cloud9 Academy are keeping pace and outpacing you with a 2,500 gold lead that they have over No Org 15 minutes into the game. This is a composition that wants to scale. They want to hyperscale and be able to get into the later elements of the game. Well, they don't need to do that now, since they are the ones with the lead.
Oh, and that lead is now translating into the ability to be pretty happy in these side lanes. The only reason Darshan is not pushing up more is because his team is not on the map just yet. As long as you've got eyes on Twisted Fate, and he was last seen on the top side, you're confident in being able to survive the engage from Riven and at least live long enough for your team to collapse and take her out now that she doesn't have flash. So Cloud9 strong enough to not only win the team fights, but survive any 1v1s or 2v1s that might come out of the globals from No Org, which is a tremendous position for them. But that should not stop No Org from looking for opportunities. There's still carries who don't have flash. They still have plenty of playmaking available. They just need to be patient and go for opportunities that don't necessarily trade 1-for-1, but rather get them kills and allow them to get out.
They can catch King. That takes away all that gold the Cloud9 have been able to operate with in these team fights, but it's so difficult to dive in there, and especially for Viper. He's just too squishy at this moment with no one really there to back up Riven as you dive down.
And now this Dragon, it's only going to be the second for Cloud9, yet the fact that No Org is not able to hold the Orianna with the Twisted Fate, which was an eventuality, but now it's starting to really look bad with how it began, since Orianna got 2 solo kills, practically 3 against him, since it was only Anda that saved him. It makes it really difficult for the options of No Org, since now the Twisted Fate only can really go after Orianna, and the only one that can match her is going to be the Riven. And so she'll know, hey, all right, as long as I'm against TF, I'm not really going to get ganked by anybody. My cleanse will play double duty against the Lilia, and if Tahm Kench and Sen are held into the mid lane, they also won't be able to jump on me. So the global options are being limited by the lane assignment that's currently taking place.
Plus, you have Twisted Fate as that pick tool to try to catch out someone like Copy, someone like King, that has to stay up against Copy and not be able to win. Nothing's really looking too hot for No Org unless they can start indexing more into Viper joining in these fights and maybe even bailing on that split push option. They've got to stop this scaling composition of Cloud9 from continuing to outpace them.
And it's the meatballs, too, that will be really dangerous to deal with, because No Org would love to just get onto the carries, get rid of them, and then move on. But the Mundo and Sion can wipe you, too. The Karma is quite relevant here in keeping people sped up and moving really fast, because it's not like your composition is actually quite mobile. It's only the Riven that has some mobility. Everybody else doesn't get to go over walls. Everybody else doesn't have great speed ups. With the double chem tank Karma speed up, they're gonna be able to catch you. And it looks like they've caught Fire, but he has Ghost with the Summoner Spellbook swap, so he'll be able to just pop that and run away.
And again, it's No Org trying to make these plays, but not actually finding what they need to. They've got the gold cord, and they have the flash out of Fire. They want to be able to jump on top of King, but they can't. Look at the damage on top of Fire with the choo-choo train. Gets the lockdown onto Big. Flashed away, Value still alive. TP in, Dawning Shadows giving huge shields. But look at how much damage that Fire is able to absorb in that entire fight and heal it all back up to full.
Whoa!
Still alive, though, barely. Big, holding on to dear life, was able to regen a little bit of that health, but he has to go back to base. That's a huge amount of damage coming in from King, taking down Big as well. And Viper flashing away, but they've got the lockdown they need to. Though Viper turns it onto King and takes him out. They've got the root coming in from Everfrost, but Viper trying to be able to go back in. Key Strike finally does not help. Fire executes him. Fire trying to run away. He goes golden, just barely dodging away from the fight, but Cloud9 Academy take the tier 1 and they take the fight.
They saw a huge opportunity there with Fire initially tanking 2 members, and it looked like he could have tanked them forever. His ultimate kept him alive. There's no burst between the Twisted Fate and the Lilia against this Mundo. They have him just buy enough time for the TPs to come through. I think Darshan will be fine. Those little health bars are probably more than what Fire has on his own.
Yeah, he's going for pretty much the utility build fully, indexing into the Everfrost, then into the Rapid Fire. He's not going to do any damage to Darshan, and even looking back towards that fight, and it almost seemed like there were a couple good elements from No Org, but Copy Shockwave was able to draw them all back in. King, even though he died, was able to get so much damage, and Big, the one that they needed to be there to keep some of them alive, he was forced out immediately.
And who really saved that fight was Viper. There at the very end, being able to pop King because the reset city would have been real. He was about to get another one and just keep going on that one. I'd love to see how it actually comboed out. I think the Shockwave with the Scion didn't quite get the knockup. Multiple members of No Org flashed away, and here it begins. So Fire pops the W. right, not going to be CC'd a lot, has the ultimate available, and King is already damaging away at the bottom lane. He's 1v2ing with the Scion, and then as they flash away, here comes Viper, but he can't re-engage here. There's too many members, and they're already so low. Threading the needle with the ultimate was a great move, and then this shockwave. As Darshan moves up, they move back to try to catch the wave, and with 3 members caught out, it only eliminates value right away. They're not able to get Anda instantly. That second auto attack didn't crit. I think had that been a crit, he would have been able to get excited and run back to his team and stay alive. So not getting RNG help from the Kraken Slayer and the Phantom Dancer there, but at the end of the day, you still get the turret and a huge team fight win that plays exactly to how your comp wants to operate.
And with very little in the ways of grievous wounds coming in from no orc, this
Darshan.
Mundo, he's charging back. 5 fire, the target first. Dawning Shadow's not in time to save his life. Instead, now they're split apart. Viper nowhere near to Value, nowhere near to Anda. Now finally he's going to be able to show up, and he just watches Anda die in the fight with a dash over the wall. Viper trying to help out Value, but Value's taken out of the fight by Copy. Even with a huge key strike, he's still got no damage to be able to take anyone else.
No.
Only got Mundo. He's dead. It's an ace from Cloud9 Academy.
They might be able to get an inhibitor off this, but it seems like they're positioning to go for Baron. Okay, no, they're going for the Dragon. A huge fight that starts with no orc grouping up, trying to get mid priority, but they're so overextended and have no idea where Cloud9 is. So the instant flank from Darshan gets 2 people deleted, and then the train at the end just rams Viper into the turret.
And the composition that wanted to be able to be split apart, not really have to group up, find the skirmishes, gets forced into team fights yet again by Cloud9. One more dragon, they'll have the soul, and when we look at this, they don't have Viper anywhere near to be able to back this up.
They had no idea. They have no vision of where Cloud9 is at. So they think that they can go for this. And here with Mundo and Churnfire and Copy's Orianna, they're actually keeping their distance exactly from over the wall so that Viper's combo is never in range of fully executing Copy. And that meant that he didn't have the angle that he found last time against King, where he needed the flash to get in range. This time around, he was only able to get a few spells off, not a complete rotation, and so the Orianna gets to live and take out value at the same time.
Now we're getting a bit more in the ways of grievous wounds coming in from no org. You can see value having that, but it's a choo-choo train. Okay, just going to be in the bot lane from Darshan. Has that TP available. Cloud9, though, they are stepping forward. They think that Churnfire is going to be safe, but again, remember, grievous wounds are there. They gobble him up, toss him back in, but he's still alive, and they've got big. They've locked down Anda as well. 5 fire, trying to be able to get away, but look at how fast Darshan is. Hey, he's going to get the gold card to the face, but 5 fire all the way away. No way they can stop this Baron.
I mean, he just 1v4'd and didn't die. He's at half HP. This game has really gotten away from no org. The fact that you had so much time with Mundo, he didn't even have his masochism on at the same time. His burning agony for the CC reduction did nothing for him. Completely locked down, still not enough damage, and now they're gonna go after value.
Looking for value. Gold card there, too. King gets rooted up by the Everfrost, dodging away from the zap, but now 5 fire, you put yourself in a bad spot. Look at the crits coming in from King. He takes him down for a killing spree. With more gold, more kills, and a Baron buff in tow, Cloud9 Academy want to be able to get this game 3, go to the grand finals, but they lost Copy to Viper.
A nice little consolation prize there for no org, but the fact
this
that
actually might work out. Wait, hold on. King is getting a lot of damage from Anda. He's held up by value, but he doesn't have enough to be able to save the Billy Goat. And the flash comes in. Double kill from King. Value trying to be able to get away, but they can't. They don't have anybody. Only Viper in the base with a Baron on the heads of Cloud9 Academy. This is their game. They're looking to end it just as quickly as games 2 and 3.
And they could. It's only 5 fire available, but he barely does anything to this composition when the tanks just run straight at him. With Karma and Jinx backing him up, they're going for the end.
Choo-choo train does not connect, but he's already got the split up onto no org. Viper getting a little bit of damage, but it's only tickling Darshan, even with Everfrost to help out. They're taking the turrets that entire time. They don't care that you have these Nexus turrets standing. They don't care that you are 2 trying to stand against the world. Cloud9 Academy are the ones in full control.
They're backing up, but this game is theirs. They'll be back soon enough to claim this victory. This gold lead is giant, but more importantly, it's the disparity in the composition and how Cloud9 has been playing. They're consistently grouped up. They found multiple members of No Org by themselves. They win these fights, and even when they get caught, No Org can do nothing about it. It was only Viper catching King in the mid lane dive, and it was only Viper catching Copy again. Nothing else has been working for No Org, and one member is just not enough.
Not at all. And now they got them Kale's blessing for Isles to make sure that either King or Copy can't ever stay stuck to by any member of No Org. All these cleanses to keep them alive. The Moonstone Renewer as well to make sure that there's no way that anybody's really going to die if they're all within a fight.
And this is exactly what they envisioned when the Twisted Fate pick came out. You knew that it was going to be team fight versus split push. They committed, hard committed to team fight. And now King is just 1v3 with the Karma at his back.
Looking for that rocket to come out of King, but value not low enough just yet. These zaps are doing so much damage to force off No Org.
Darshan is flanking. They want to go for a fight.
Fire is going to be able to spot him out. They know that he's there. They've got at least Viper split off. That's the member they want to make sure is away from the rest of the members of No Org with the smash on top of Big. He's only taking a little bit of damage coming in at the moment. Destiny Gate has been open. They know they're all gathered together, but this is the Goon Squad, the hyper carry coming in from King with Viper completely split away, trying to see if he can escape, getting only chip damage on top of Surenfire. Viper doing a good job to make sure that it's going to be Darshan chasing him, but he's left his entire team out to dry. King is dominating and excited. Viper wants to be able to get the flank, but they can't do it. Not with the minions starting to pour into the base.
They're so much stronger they can afford to split up and chase Riven because no one else can do anything for them, and now they're flashing in. They're going to end here.
Oh, and there goes value. There goes the Nexus turret. They've got nothing left, and it takes way too much damage. Viper's in the middle of 4. He doesn't have the damage. The heals cannot be done. They finally got it. Cloud9 Academy, they've got the victory here. Game 4, 3-1. They're gonna go to the grand finals.
3 games in under 30 minutes, each more dominating than the last. Cloud9 really showing why they're the #1 Academy team here. And even though No Org put a valiant fight, it just did not match up to what Cloud9 was able to do when they got their game plan together. They lost game 1, but the next 3 just look completely different.
Even in this 4th game, I was a little worried for Cloud9 Academy with this draft that wanted to be able to scale up a little bit more. But when you get early kills onto Copy solo into Fire, I guess you don't really need to worry about that. You're going to be able to accelerate that scaling.
The Twisted Fate never got out of the laning phase. He was constantly getting killed, pushed back, and there were no options in the bottom lane. And when top was answered so early by a tank, recognizing when you pick the Twisted Fate, you're going to want to pick a carry. We're going to give you an unmovable object here that you'll never be able to bully. There were almost no places for No Org to go. And when the mid lane collapsed, the game plan went with it.
Can we also praise Surenfire in this game? We finally get to see not a Hecarim in a game. He plays Mundo, and we're kind of wondering how it's going to be able to do. Well, you know, I think it did pretty damn well.
It really does. It's a top pick when the other ones that are highly valued in the Udyr and the Hecarim are off the table, since power clears very well, is just as tanky as them, has the same itemization, so you don't even have to think about what to buy, and does actually a lot of damage.
That it does. That it does, and it also survives a lot of that damage. How many times in those fights was he near death and able to get all the shields and heals possible to be able to fight back into everything?
1v4, that one was the one that sticks out the most in my memory. Gets caught, pixel brush of Baron. 1v4s for about 7 seconds of full firepower from No Org. Still lives at half HP.
That he does, and with that, Cloud9 Academy take a 3-1 victory going on into the grand finals. We're going to toss to a break. When we come back, the analyst desk will be back with the Tigers, joined in by Darshan as well, so stick around.
Welcome back for the Verizon post-game interview here at LCS Proving Grounds. Well, we've got a little bit of a twist on our interview today. We are joined by C9A top laner Darshan, and he's going to be sticking with us throughout the entirety of this analyst desk segment. Darshan, congratulations on your victory, dude. How you feeling about that best of 5?
Thanks. Game 1 caught us a little bit off guard, but I think we bounced back, and it always feels nice to win. So there's that.
Oh yeah, winning moments, always great when you get to experience them yourself. You yourself were an important factor within these games, and I do want to get your ideas on this past game in particular, because we were very focused on the matchup between you and Viper. He was on the Riven. Did you have any set expectations for how this was going to go?
The Riven game or just against Viper in general?
Against Viper in general, but specifically thoughts on the Riven. I know that you have some experience against that.
Yeah, I thought Viper was performing pretty well most of the tournament, so I was actually kind of surprised in his performance in the series. I thought that he would have played better, I guess, just being honest. And maybe he didn't show his best performance today, but yeah, I felt like he wasn't really punishing me at all. And I was playing losing matchups a lot of the times, but he just wasn't really getting that far ahead, getting that big leads. Besides in game 1 where I died to a couple ganks, but then I still ended up solo killing him after. So I was honestly kind of surprised. Like maybe it was just an off day from him.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at it specifically and the way that you were able to keep control of it, whether it was an off day or not, I mean, some of these moments from this last game in the early game where it was very key, you adding that pressure to the top lane to lead to the next game. So how do you think that things actually played out at this early stage, kind of reviewing these moments on our screen?
Yeah, I think I'd actually called this a few seconds before it happened, so it's kind of unfortunate. But if a Riven is down 30 CS to a tank and 2 levels, then you know the game has just gone terribly, terribly wrong. So I think like this was happening, like it's completely fine, guys. Like I'm gonna carry this game. Riven's down 2 levels and like 30 farms, so it really doesn't matter if she kills 1 person bot, you know. So it's kind of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it. I do want to get some thoughts from Kelsey and Smacks. I mean, Kelsey, we were talking a bit about these early moments in the game. What are your takes on this?
Yeah, I was looking at that, and it was just a really unfortunate timing where you end up using the ulti, and then he has to back there, and it's hard for him to walk back because his jungler was on bot side. So he kind of has to make a desperation TP just because he doesn't really have a play. And at that same time, it's just he's not going to be able to kill Mundo. He's not going to be able to kill Sion. So it still felt like, all right, this is still a pretty free game for C9.
Yeah, so Kelsey definitely feels like this was a free game for C9 here. I think we do have to specify some of your plays, Darshan, that led it to feeling that way. Around 12 minutes, he made that TP play down to the bot side. What was your reasoning for that in the way that you were able to apply this pressure?
I mean, I think they just, I mean, we had a pink ward behind them, right? And they're really far up. So I think in any situation where you can kill 2 bot and get bot tower, then you're typically going to look for TP advantage. So yeah, it was just a pretty free play. And I think they just didn't expect the ward. So whoever put the ward on my team, they should get a pay raise because it's a game-winning ward right there.
All of your teammates now looking at the VODs, trying to figure out who gets that pay raise. But yeah, it really worked out here in this case.
Yeah, I think a lot of times in competitive games, when you do get that successful TP advantage playoff, it really just you end up running away with the game a lot of times. So I think anytime you can do these as in competitive games, it's just game over usually.
Yeah, it took a little bit until we actually arrived to the official game over. Some moments before that when we finally got to see the team fighting online. Smacks, let's get you in here because I think we were all excited to see what was going down at 18 minutes, the fight between the teams, even if some were a little easier to kill than others.
Yeah, we saw from the draft that Cloud9 Academy's game plan here was just to have these two huge tanks that were completely unkillable, and we see both Darshan and Surenfire go face first in this fight, and there's just no sustained damage from these champions that Norg have drafted themselves, with the Senna as your marksman, the Bruiser Riven in the top lane, and then Twisted Fate, who's more oriented on burst, and then then the Smurf rookie in the mid lane, Copy, finds this huge shockwave too. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did. That's why you banned its Orianna, right? For sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was happy
Darshan.
that everyone had good moments in this series.
Oh yeah.
Looking at your teammates a bit more, Darshan, let's talk a bit about Copy, kind of one of the newer comers to the scene. You have had now the entirety of the season thus far working alongside of him. What do you make of his development since everybody was already kind of keeping him on their radar since first seeing what he can do in the mid lane?
Yeah, so I think when people talk about NA talent, I think a lot of the times when I think someone's truly an NA talent or someone that should be looked out for is that they're very open to learning. And like they don't have an ego, right? I think it's really natural for even myself when I first started playing. I definitely had an ego, and I think that Copy doesn't really have much of an ego in the sense that like he's willing to learn, he's willing to improve. He's definitely had, I think, not some of the games weren't the best in Proving Grounds, but then I think he's always learning. He's always like grinding the game in a way that's effective, and he's always open to take that feedback. And I think that he's improved a lot this split, and I think that in time, he'll definitely be one of the greatest NA mids, and I think that he should definitely, I think by the end of this year, at the latest, I think he should get on an LCS team. But I mean, I think all my teammates are LCS caliber players, so I think it's a little unfair in that sense, but I really do want to give him a shout out because I think that he's been trying really hard to learn, and he's been a really open teammate. So it's been great to work with him.
It's awesome. Did you guys hype him up for the rematch of Scouting Ground Circuit last year against Firefire, where he's playing against him in the mid lane?
I did not. I just hoped he had a good series. I wanted him to play well.
That's
And
fair.
Copy
I was
Copy's always a grinder, right? Like he always wants extra help, and I have to agree with that sentiment. Definitely see a huge difference from him from starting on 100 next till now. And I think that last game was a good showcase of his development. So.
It's one of the reasons we're here at Proving Grounds, right? To see the differences in these players game by game, series by series. Darshan, you mentioned that everyone on your team had moments to be proud of in these series to push you into that winner's final. We did have to make a tough call on who the player of the series is going to be. And in this case, it will be the king of the jungle, the Hecarim god himself, Surenfire. You just had great words to say about your teammate Copy, Darshan. What do you have to say about Surenfire and the control that he exhibits from the jungle position?
Yeah, I think Surenfire is another great player, and I think that what I really appreciate from Shuren is that keeping his head in the game. I think the biggest thing is I think he's a really talented player, but I think his biggest downfall is how he approaches setbacks or when things go wrong in the jungle, and I do think it's really hard for jungle when they get behind, but I do think that he bounced back really hard from game one, and I think he was a big part of all of our wins. So I also do appreciate Shuren a lot, and not only his growth this split, but throughout the series, I think he showed a lot of resilience. So I appreciate that about him.
Yeah, Smacks, you were another advocate for him getting player of the series here today. What was it that most impressed him, or you rather, with his performance to secure this best of 5 series?
Well, the first 2 wins were definitely more flashy. You know, on the Hecarim, one of them he went full damage, and the second one he went full tank, where we got to see him take a huge part in a lot of the team fights. But game 3 actually really solidified it for me, even though he took a bit of a back seat in the beginning of that game. Locking in that Mundo and being that flexible jungler to lock in that sort of just meatball tank in the front line is a really big deal. And that extra draft flexibility really helped in a game like this where there aren't really any champions that can even kill Mundo, and the Scion there too. So I was very impressed with Surenfire in this game, especially against Anda as well, who I know I'm not the only one who's heralding him as one of the best junglers in this entire tournament.
And this was a very, I guess, forecasted jungle matchup that a lot were looking forward to tuning into. Of course, with the overall victory going to Cloud9 Academy, that does mean the C9 Academy move on to the grand final that will be taking place on Sunday, with No Org heading down into the lower bracket to face off against the winner of tomorrow's series, and that's between Evil Geniuses Academy and 100 Thieves Academy. Darshan, you just took down No Org. Some are anticipating that the rematch will be there in the winners finals later, but I'm curious as to who you think will be coming out on top and who you will be facing in the finals.
Honestly, I have no idea. Like, some of these teams show up on the day and they're playing a lot better, and then other days they look a lot worse. So I honestly couldn't tell you. If I had to guess, I think it will be a rematch with No Org, but honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure.
So you did mention that a couple of times. Some are playing better on some days, some on others. It makes it difficult to anticipate. Do you find that there has been a lot of variability with these top 4 teams when you're facing them into, I guess, the level to which they play? Or are there any teams that have been a bit more consistent than others?
I think No Org looked the most consistent before our series, but I think they kind of fell apart in our series. So I'm kind of wondering, so like when I think of No Org, I think their biggest strength was playing the TF and then having Viper with the counter pick, right? And he would really take over a lot of the games, but I didn't really see that in our series. So I'm wondering if Viper gets that back, then I think they'll be a much bigger threat in the grand finals. But if not, then I would actually think EG or 100 would take it. And I think EG or 100, I think 100 has been slowly powering up. You know, they've been going up through the losers bracket, and I think Demonte's been playing pretty well. So it's really hard to say. I think I would give it to either, my power rankings would be No Org, 100, then EG, but I think that it's close between 1 and 2.
All right, making sure not to lock anybody in there as your opponent and giving props where props are due. Thank you, Darshan. But that is going to do it for us here today. You made it a 4-game series and are sending us out a little bit early. So on behalf of myself, the casters, and the entire remote broadcast crew, thank you for watching. Thank you, Darshan, for stopping by here on the analyst desk. And we're going to see you all later for more LCS Proving Grounds. Until then, my friends, good morning, afternoon, evening, and good night.